Before we get to the Civil War, again, you want to revisit the Civil War?
The other football.
The other football?
We spin to win.
Can we give a round of applause? How about a round of applause to the Washington State Cougars? Can we give the Cougs do that deserve a round of applause? Is that a moral victory for the Cougs?
They lost by
They got back within a touchdown and then just
they
coughed it
lost
up.
by 5
We all
touchdowns.
thought that they lost by 50 points to North Texas.
Yeah.
And that was a 7-point game at the start of the fourth quarter.
Well,
if I would have told you on Friday that the Apple Cup was going to be a 7-point game at the start of the fourth quarter, what would you have responded?
I would say, what is the final? And you go, they lose by 35. I'd say, well, nice little effort.
Look, the fourth
nice
quarter was
little
ugly.
effort.
That's what I'm saying. Give them a round of applause for a nice little effort. That game had far more juice than I thought it was going to have.
I will give you that.
That game was back and forth and entertaining for 3 quarters.
Crowd was into it.
I never thought that was going to happen.
Husky fans were on the road with the big dub flag. There was some spiciness between the players.
Washington State's terrible.
Well,
and it was a ball game. I didn't turn it off in the first quarter.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'll say
round
that.
Round of applause. We didn't turn the Apple Cup off in the first quarter. Shout out to the Cougs.
You know, some at the Civil War were saying the same thing. It's a game at halftime. I'm like, it's literally not. They're going to get blown out, and then Oregon's going to play backups and crickets on my text line. So.
Yeah, those messages slowed down a little bit as the game went on.
They ceased to exist is basically what happened.
So I wanted to read this thought. I got to scroll back. Let me find it. Somebody sent in a tweet a text, and it was from a Beaver fan. For the love of God. Where the hell did it go? Essentially highlighting what we talked about earlier. Here we go. It read, Beaver fan here. I grew up going to every single Civil War with my family's house divided. We bought tickets this year and ended up just not going. I agree. No juice. Just feels like the teams are in different leagues. I had zero appetite to watch us get our teeth kicked in. And that to me was one of the bigger takeaways coming out of it. Like you got for some reason, Oregon State fan claiming moral victory because they had one scoring drive and then they had 3 first downs the rest of the game.
Can I just interrupt you here?
Yeah,
I don't want
ahead.
to, but I have to. I'm sorry. I've talked to enough people, and I was around people watching. That's not a real thing.
Okay, good.
I don't think there was any moral victories. I think most Beaver fans saw that and said, yeah, about what we expected. Not close in any remotely way, and our offense is terrible, and our defense can't really get a true stop when it matters, and our special teams, hey, they snapped the ball. Yeah, and they also gave up a 4th down conversion from a punter on a long run. All of that, still a disaster. And now you're a 12-point dog. That line's already climbed in a day. You're a 12-point home dog on a turnaround Friday against a Big 12 team that last time they played embarrassed Colorado. So
they did, yeah, coming off a bye.
I don't want a couple media-based narratives that I'm not even sure are real narrative. I don't want that to be a projection of the fan base because I don't think that that's accurate in any way.
Totally fair. They lose the game. Now they get Houston this weekend. The reaction for Oregon side is once again asking, like, what's wrong when they outgained them by nearly 500 total yards and gave up 8 first downs the entire game and only 1 in the second half. But it's like, hey, you gave up that 1 drive in the first half, though. What's wrong with your defense? Are there concerns? To me, the mindset of this game was essentially going in, can we just get into Penn State healthy next week? And then the game kicks off, and I'm like, all right, let's see what the juice is like, see how the game goes. My team seemed disinterested for the majority of the first half. Your team outside of 1 drive didn't do anything, and it just the life in the stadium felt dead. If people were there, I'm curious to hear from you, like because I didn't stay for this game.
I didn't watch
the
the
pregame
shout
show
on the Big Ten. I wasn't around the TV.
I mean, the shout's always big because that's the thing that I think people stay for. And then once shout's done, the stadium, everybody scurries up the exits because they just want to see shout.
And the game's
you're done. You experience shout, and then you get you film it on your cell phone and put it on your Instagram. And then you get the hell out of there to beat traffic.
It's a funny poll question. If you were at the Civil War,
they definitely stay till the end of the third quarter.
Did you leave after shout?
Without a doubt, they did. If you could stay that long, you might as well stay till shout.
Yeah.
Because the game was essentially over a couple minutes into the third quarter. After they scored after that fake drive possession, to me, there wasn't a lot of juice. I came away with it saying, I don't know if I want this game to happen every year. I don't need this game to happen every year. I don't think the outcomes are going to be very different. I'm not saying that Oregon State does not have the ability to ever rise up and win one of these. That's not what I'm arguing. I think if you had built in a sense of urgency with this game, you know what? Hey, there's something teeing off this week. I'll give you an analogy. Let's turn it into like the Ryder Cup, where it's like every other year, every 2 years or something, like you get every 4 years you're playing a game in Eugene, every 4 years you're playing a game in Corvallis. Does that make sense? Like to me, having a build up and a sense of urgency of like, man, we haven't seen the Civil War in 3 years. Maybe there's a little more juice going into it. Last year, we thought, hey, maybe Oregon State could pull off an upset here. The Ducks are limping into this game. The Beavs are undefeated, and that went out the window pretty quickly. This game is there any life to it? Not really. The game is over essentially at halftime. It's not a game that I think I need to watch every single year. And I came away with it saying I wouldn't be mad at all if it went away or it was just played on a every once in a while basis.
Well, if we're gonna go Ryder Cup, can we also choose Brandon Cooks and then go through the
choose your
list
Ryder Cup team
of the players that we like?
Steven
Jordan
Jackson,
Poyer come back?
Jordan Poyer can come back definitely.
Represent our
Stephen Pye on the defensive line.
Yeah, I'd still take it actually.
Let's find some pieces here.
We get some offensive linemen in the mix as well. Look, I hear what you're saying. I don't necessarily think you're even making invalid points. I totally get it. In most years of my life, there's never going to be a moment where this talent is remotely close. But as much as we talked about that, and that was kind of seemingly the narrative takeaway from last week getting into the game as the future of it. Should it happen? Should it not happen? I weirdly watched my team get beat down and kind of thought, I want it to keep happening. Much like that listener, there was a real streak here. I went to that game every year.
You did.
It was a big deal to me. Not so much as like I really hate the other and I just really love like how in state we had something all that brought us together to watch. And so yeah, most years this is going to end in that result, if not worse in some. But if they ever get their heads out of the you-know-whats and they decide that they need a coach that knows what's going on, there might be years where this is a little feisty and fun. It might be few and far between. I would totally grant you that. But I wouldn't mind having it. My only thing would be, one, very poor negotiating by our athletic director in the agreement of the reemergence of this game in a calendar year.
Not a lot of wins on Oregon State's side of that negotiation.
And I think Coug and Husky fan, maybe you agree with this sentiment as well, given the Apple Cup history. I would really love this game to be pushed into November. It just feels very bizarre to be at a 90-degree child soccer game watching this on my phone with a backpack blocking the sun so my phone doesn't get too hot and my screen turns dark.
Yeah, there's part of that for me of like, if this, even with the outcome, if this game was played at the end of the year and it's like Oregon's needs a win for
blank.
Insert the to stay undefeated or a one more win to clinch a playoff spot or whatever they can.
Or can Oregon State get a ninth? Can they pull on ups? Can they keep this close? Like
there's far more juice in the game.
Yeah,
even in a year
where
Oregon,
more normal.
Even in a year where Oregon State's 1-10 going into it or 2-9, like even in a year like that, they're still like, hey. If you lose this game, oh my God, it's ending your season. And not that would have happened this week, but it's just so early in the year. The game's played in September, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be close in any time in the not too distant future.
And we see a lot of weird stuff, man. I'm not trying to pretend this game isn't something it's not. I'm just saying, like, if it's in the back end and Oregon has a great Husky team. Maybe it's not the last game of the year, right? Maybe the Washington-Oregon game is the last conference game of the year, and you move this into mid to the week before of November. There's just something to college football. Because I thought watching the game, Oregon looked like a team. We kept hearing, like, we need to finish better. We need to do this and this from Northwestern, and we all picked a blowout. But I thought watching it, Oregon looked like a team that knew they didn't need to care that much, and they were still going to win 41-7.
It looked like they've been prepping for Penn State for a while. Like they're mentally in Happy Valley this weekend. Like
and we see that.
Are on a wideout.
But that's kind of my point of putting it at the back end. Oregon State cannot be great, and most years, again, the result may be this. Is there an element of our last Big Ten game is next weekend, and if we win, we'll be in a Big Ten title game? 3-win or 4-win Oregon. Okay. Sometimes there's weird stuff that happens, and it takes a reverse in an Apple Cup for an undefeated team that's going to go to the national championship game to beat Washington State at home. That can happen from time to time in the sport. So
yes,
that was my takeaway. Weirdly, I wanted to keep going. And weirdly, I just would ask that the game push to the end of the year. But
I think that's part of the problem.
Our athletic director turtled the negotiations.
Yes. That's part of the problem that I honestly have with it. We had somebody send us, let me go ahead and find this. Somebody tweeted us, I think it was on Friday. It was essentially like an open letter from the Oregon State fan base to Scott Barnes about
I saw
the situation. And it's signed by Beaver fans. Everybody said, in the light of recent news and a new Civil War deal with Oregon, the Oregon State Beaver fan base completely and wholeheartedly rejects the deal that's made. Skipping over an Oregon State home game in the series is not acceptable. Is a horrible concession to the institution who wanted to bury us. The last time the Civil War had a hiatus was for World War II. Brings up the next issue when the game is played, playing the Civil War in Week 3 or Week 4, the last 2 seasons respectively, is also a non-starter. The game is scheduled. They're being played. Anything less than a Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving shall be rejected by Oregon State fan base. But, I mean, it just goes on. And then we go back to, so we had Adam earlier on the YouTube chat, who's a diehard Beaver, who's like, I didn't watch the game. I had no interest in watching the game.
I don't blame you.
You mentioned earlier, we heard that there were, 2,000, Oregon State got an allotment of tickets, and they returned over half of them because they couldn't sell them.
Oregon State got 3,000 allotted tickets for this game. They only claimed 1,000 of them, which was, I was told, barely more than Montana State.
And this is where, and maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe people disagree. Maybe the people that were walking around the tailgate lots and, joking with ducks and beeves. And, I have so many friends and family members who are Beavers, and my co-host is I want it to mean something. I just don't feel like it doesn't. Like, if your fan base is either A, not watching or not even buying the tickets that are allotted to them and returning them, my fan base gets nothing out of winning this game. And the only people who are talking trash after winning that are the losers online, who are the fake Twitter accounts who want to talk trash, and they're just doing it to create buzz and retweets and all that kind of stuff and interactions. Who wins here?
Oregon technically wins. They got the
I get
W.
that, but we don't. I don't get anything.
You got a ramp-up game for Penn State.
This win means no more to me than beating Oklahoma State or Montana State or Northwestern, and that's not the way that the game used to be, and I'm sad to admit that, but that's the spot that we're in right now.
Yeah, and I'm in the reverse of you, 2016, where you lost and you felt sad with your pants being wet walking out of Reser, but that game got your coach turfed.
It did. I was really wet that day. That was a wet day.
I was hoping that I had the opposite, but the same result where
you were too competitive. It wasn't 72-0. You needed a.
I know.
You needed a.
We had a good first quarter. And you know what? I found myself saying and out loud watching this at home. I found myself doing what people are doing in politics now, where people with zero leadership, zero understanding of community and helping neighbors are now running for public office because they're popular online or they're on television, and so we just vote for these people. I found myself doing that, and I said, honest to God, I think I could be a better athletic director than this guy. He just feels like an empty suit collecting a paycheck. What do you do?
That is the Beaver Excellency Award winner you're talking about? Beaver Champion Award winner?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Real champion. Not going to have a home game until 2028 in this game.
How many Beaver Championships have you won?
I mean, I probably couldn't do that job, but I found myself out loud saying, I could do that job. I think I could do that job.
It just, all of it compiling with last week, the announcement of the extension, and it only further angering one side of the fan bases in this rivalry.
Right.
It took even more juice out of it for me, because it felt like, at least if you had an announcement where the game's going to get restarted, but the next game will be in Corvallis, and we made Oregon negotiate on behalf of the Big Ten to say, you know what, we'd like for the tradition to be alive of playing this game in November. If you had won those two things, it would have felt like a PR win, and then I think there almost would have been more juice going into the game. But when you've already bent over, and then you continue to bend over more, and you lose another negotiation, and then the game happens, and it goes the way that everybody thinks it does, it's been rough, and I understand that in the long run I'm probably wrong here, and I get that it's big for local businesses and communities and all that, and families are divided. I understand it. I don't know who on either side of this gets anything out of the game other than the people who don't like football, who just want to be the rah-rah state of Oregon person. There was a lady in the stands that had a shirt cut halfway with orange and dude, get her out of there.
Lady.
Well, we don't want you. Get her out of here.
Then you get parents, and it's like the house divided. One kid's at Oregon, one kid's at Oregon State. And some of that stuff is like, okay, pick a side. But I'm okay with that too, because that's what I was for most of my childhood, was who's better and who has more at stake here to win. I would pay legitimate money to find out if it was even brought up in the phone call between Mullins and Barnes.
To move the game back.
To move the game at a different point. Because the whole when it restarts thing, that's not shocking to me that they lost that argument. I want to know if it was even in the conversation. If he brought it up, I'd be pleasantly surprised. If he didn't, I would expect it.
That's also on the heels of them getting rid of a home game against BYU for a $2 million payout to go play the game in Las Vegas. So,